Hey guys, it's Courtney here from Rose Bloom, where we intentionally design our life and business with the cosmos. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about the Scorpio New Moon, which is happening on the night of October 14th, and it's going to be happening at 23 degrees of Scorpio. So, as always, I highly recommend pulling up your own birth chart and locating where 23 degrees of Scorpio is. For example, I know that I have Pluto at 23 degrees of Scorpio, so this moon is going to be exactly conjunct my natal Pluto, which is going to affect or change the way that this new moon changes me or affects me. So it's really helpful to know that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what we can expect from this new moon. First of all, I just wanted to say that this new moon is conjunct an asteroid called Juno. And Juno is a marriage asteroid, but it really represents our devotion to something. And devotion, I guess, past the point of sanity almost. Like you're so devoted to it that it doesn't necessarily matter if it's hurting you or helping you, you're in it. And so I feel like this energy already with Scorpio, which is a very ambitious sign, combined with Juno, is telling us to give ourselves fully over to our ambitions or our dreams or our goals. So, whatever it is in your life that you have been wanting to make progress with and haven't necessarily made that progress lately, this is your chance. Mars is just now moving direct, and the day after it moves direct, we have this new moon coming in and saying, this is a time to plant the seed of intention of the actions that you want to take to move forward to strive towards your goals. This new moon is going to be very, very positive. And just make sure that you stay tuned to your rising sign. And you can always find the links in the description. But I'll give you guys what that's going to look like specifically for you, and then, of course, the overall energy. So, as I was mentioning, this new moon is looking really, really positive, which is something that I feel like we have needed for a long time. Scorpio is inherently a more challenging sign. It requires more out of us. And so there are going to be some elements there where we're going to have to move through shadows and really believe in ourselves in order for that ambition to get us somewhere. So inherently that's kind of built into Scorpio. However, it's being really positively supported through the different angles that it's making to planets. First of all, it's making a sextile to Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and the asteroid Pallas Athena. So all of these are really saying that it's going to be a wonderful time to start new projects, for new opportunities to start flowing. Whenever there is a sextile to Jupiter, is basically saying that all the benevolent energy of Jupiter is coming to lift you up and support you. On top of that, not only is it a good time to make connections, make opportunities happen, for changes to occur, it's also going to be supported by a strong work ethic with a sextile to Saturn, saying that if you put in the work, you will get something out of it and it will be rewarding for you. And then on top of that, with Pluto, with a sextile to Pluto, you're going to have more inner reserves. You're going to have that inner fire and passion in order to make these things happen. And it's really beautiful to have the support from Pluto, especially with a new moon in Scorpio, because Pluto is the ruling planet of Scorpio. So they have very similar energies. So they are working in harmony together, basically saying that you can absolutely achieve whatever your ambition desires if you just put in the time and the effort. And again, that's going to require you to undergo some deep inner transformation in order for that to occur, which means it's not going to necessarily be handed to us or be easy, but it's possible. And it's like this first seed of light that we're starting to receive after so many challenging things happening, after so many retrogrades. It's like finally that go ahead. On top of that, Jupiter is conjunct Pluto, or that just happened recently. So essentially what that means is that this is a strong manifestation energy. It can also sort of multiply the negative things in our life, and I've mentioned this time and time again. So it's going to be really important for you to focus your thoughts on positive things at this time. So direct your energy into things where it's actually going to bear fruit for you, where it's actually going to bring things into your life, instead of focusing on the things that are out of your control or the things that are negative that are happening in this world. And then it's making a sextile to Pallas Athena, which I think is really interesting, that there are two key feminine asteroids playing a role here. Juno, which is showing us to invest ourselves into what we're doing, mind, body, and soul. And then Pallas Athena is coming in here to support, saying that there is this inner warrior within us that can overcome all the obstacles. And we are being supported to show that inner warrior and to use that within our work. So if you feel like you're coming up against obstacles, you can pull on that Pallas Athena energy to then support you and help you throughout this process. On top of this, it's making a trine to Neptune. So I do feel like there is a deeper spiritual backing behind what we're doing. The universe is giving us the green light, the go ahead, saying, we support you. We want you to be working on this right now. And so this trine is a really beautiful thing. At the same time, sometimes trines to Neptune can make us feel like a little bit lazier, but I feel like with all the other energy, it's more of a spiritual aspect rather than, an aspect of laziness. So I would say take the time to meditate, take the time to ground yourself and ensure that the action that you are moving forward with is something that feels spiritually aligned, because I don't think you will actually be able to last throughout all the challenges unless you are spiritually aligned with that path. So it has to have like a deeper, more purposeful why for you in order for this to really bear fruit 6 months from now when we have the full moon in Scorpio. So those are the aspects that are happening specifically to the Scorpio moon. And now I'm just going to talk about what else is going on in the sky that is not interacting necessarily with the moon. So we have a tense angle, a square between Venus and Jupiter, Venus and Saturn, Venus and Pluto, and Venus and Pallas Athena. So basically all that positive energy that was just supporting us, it's still making a tense angle with Venus. And what that means is that the area around money and relationships can feel quite tense at this time. There might still be some unresolved issues, some things that need to have tension in order for you to take action to resolve them. On top of that, what I really think about with Venus is our perspective about the beauty in life and feeling really optimistic, feeling really loved, feeling really supported. And while I do think that this moon is supporting us, I also think that we won't necessarily feel like this light and fluffy feeling around this this new moon. And I think that's a given, knowing what's going on in the world around us at this time. So that also could be the possibility coming in with this square to Venus, is that yes, we're making action. Yes, we are taking action. Yes, we are making progress, but it's not necessarily going to feel as light and easy as we want it to already. The other aspect of this, if we take it kind of bit by bit and look at each square, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend because you want to look at the whole picture, but some of these keywords can kind of fit together to create a whole picture. So I'm going to break it down for you anyway. So when we have a Venus squared to Jupiter, this can often represent, again, like this like laziness, because Venus is us enjoying things in our life, and so is Jupiter. And so when these are making a conversation with each other, we don't necessarily always have like the stamina to desire hard work to make things happen. So that's a possibility that we might have to overcome. We've had this like months of stagnation with Mars retrograde that we might have to like kick things into high gear, but we've already kind of developed this habit of taking things a little bit easier or doing things a little bit slower and things not progressing. So that shift into a different gear might jolt us a little bit, and this square might be challenging us in that way to make that shift or make that progress. Venus making a square to Saturn can make us feel less harmonious within our relationships. So it can make us feel disheartened about the people in our lives. It can make us feel lonely or like we are further distanced from those that we love. And I think that makes a lot of sense given what's happening with the election. I think a lot of people are celebrating and a lot of people are saddened by that. And so there is this discord that is happening already. So that Venus square Saturn makes a lot of sense. However, this energy obviously will be moving quickly past. It's not going to be hanging out there forever. And then Venus square Pluto, this can bring some toxicity coming up through relationships. And I feel like this is going to be more so in global relationships, like in politics, how people are fighting back. There can be manipulation, there can be scandals, and that is really where like the Venus square Pluto, I think, will come into play. So I think as a global or as a collective, community, we will experience these energies in that type of way, where there's going to be still tenseness going on in relationships with people, still manipulation and power issues related to economics and related to politics. I mean, those things have always been existing, but I think they will be more so at the forefront during this new moon as well. But still, besides all that, we're still going to be making personal progress and even, collective progress towards being more evolved and towards going after our dreams. So the last point that I want to talk about before I get into each of the signs is Mercury is making a quincunx to Chiron and is opposing Uranus. So Mercury has been opposing Uranus for a while now. And whenever it's opposing Uranus, it's giving us surprising news or brand new ideas, breakthroughs. It's like the genius strike. But again, it can also be surprising news, unexpected things, or I guess like a way of viewing things or new insights that come in that kind of jolt you. And because it's making such a harsh angle to Chiron, there's this news or this insight is coming in order to help us heal. But I think instead of helping us heal, it's going to feel quite painful. So maybe this is something that will have to come to a resolution at a later point in time. But I feel like right now, whatever news starts to come in around this new moon is not going to be, is going to be painful for some people, if not all people. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure what's going to come to fruition, but there can be choice words with people that you love, or there could be news that comes in regards to politics or the environment or the economy. I feel like something is going to be happening at that time that's going to feel quite painful or uncomfortable. And then I'm going to talk to you guys about where that might fall in your own personal chart. Okay, up next we have Aries Rising. So Aries, this new moon is happening in your 8th house. So the new moon is Scorpio, is happening in the 8th house, which is ruled by Scorpio. So it's very Scorpionic. And what that means is that I definitely think that you guys are going to be feeling the depths of what a Scorpio new moon feels like. I think it affects everyone differently, but for you guys, you're really going to feel the true energy of Scorpio, which can be quite intense, and that's a word that I will always use for Scorpio, and transformative. But I think it's going to be really, really positive for you in the areas of your career and in letting things go from the past that were not serving you. So having a new moon in the 8th house, one of the things that it's calling you to do is to be vulnerable, is to develop a greater sense of intimacy with others, to share the raw and vulnerable part of yourself with yourself and with other people. And the raw and vulnerable part includes the shadows and the light. That is what true vulnerability is showing people our shadow side that we don't want others to see because judgment, because it feels unsafe. And so it actually feels like this new moon is such a beautiful time for you to show up in such an authentic way. Like, this is who I am. Take me for who I am. And it's going to be very supported with the energy of in your career, because you guys have been having Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto moving through your 10th house, which is altering the way that you show up in your career. And it's going to continue there through the end of the year. And so you showing up as your most authentic self is something that seeps into all areas of your life. And even if it's not something that you directly show within your career, I think people can feel it on an energetic level. because it's almost like you're unburdening yourself. When you are just raw and yourself, yeah, it's scary because it's vulnerable, but it's also like you're putting down a backpack and you're just not carrying the extra weight of anything that isn't you. And I think that shines through and makes people attracted to you without them even realizing like why they're attracted to you. So I think that that's why this energy is supporting it. And I also think that because you've been having these planets move through your 10th house, maybe you're starting to feel like you're starting to understand things in your career. Because, you know, all these planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, they're all direct right now. They went direct somewhat recently in the 10th house, meaning that you've put in a lot of work. You've analyzed that work when they went retrograde. You've refined things. You've figured things out. And now that they're all moving direct, it's like, okay, maybe I'm starting to feel like I'm hitting my stride, or I'm starting to get more clarity. Not like it's perfect, but like I've done a lot of work in the area of my career. And that is providing confidence and stability for you to then look at the deeper side of yourself and to be that raw and vulnerable side. And this new moon is also making a trine to Neptune in your 12th house, which whenever I see this, it's very much, it feels like, okay, I'm like releasing all this stuff from the past. And it's a very supportive energy, allowing you to do that with a lot more ease than you normally would. So the only way to show up raw and vulnerable and authentic is to not live your life and your current circumstances with the lens of the past, where they're scarred, where you're fearful. So you're showing up with new eyes. You're deciding to let those things go. And even if you've been hurt by being vulnerable in the past, you're deciding that you're not going to do that anymore. So I really love this for you guys. This is super supportive energy. You're also going to have Venus moving through Libra in the 7th house. So you're feeling more supported in your relationships at this time with Venus moving through there. Things will feel a little bit easier. However, it's making a square to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in your 10th house. So there may be some things where you feel like, okay, my relationships are good and like my work is good, but like there is some tension between these two things. I don't know what that looks like for you on a personal level, but maybe it's you feeling like you want to show up in your relationships and then it kind of takes away from your work. Or maybe it's you showing up at work and that's taking away from your relationships. Regardless, I feel like you guys are being supported in both areas at this time, but that you might have to make some changes in the way that you approach these two things in order to create a greater sense of balance. You guys also have Mercury moving through your 8th house, and this is opposing Uranus in your 2nd house and making a quincunx to Chiron in your 1st house. So, as I mentioned, you are showing up with greater vulnerability. And I think having Mercury here and opposing Uranus is giving you the insight into what needs to be revealed about your insecurities and your confidence. Like this interplay between the shadow and the light within you. It's like that's like the spotlight is being displayed and you're getting a lot of insights in those two areas of your life. As you open up with others, it's like you're also discovering new things about yourself. But then it's making a quincunx to Chiron in the 1st. So while you're making these new discoveries, it might still be painful. There might still be things that you're like, I don't want to own that about myself, or I don't want that. So it's not like it's going to be a totally blissful experience. Like raw vulnerability is something that's uncomfortable and takes a lot of ownership and agency. It takes a lot of agency to take ownership over your shadows. And so I think that's where the discomfort can come in. But overall, despite those things, it's a really positive new moon for you guys. I think it's going to help you show up in the next 6 months in a totally new way in your relationships. And it's going to manifest positively in your career and finally put some old things to rest so that you can start a new chapter and a new cycle. And it's only going to be up from here, guys. So I love this for you. If it resonates, please comment down below. And thank you so much for staying tuned. Bye.